Hey JJ,
Mm.
how are you, bud?
Oh, I'm just listening to Sam, enjoying my time here with y'all.
Listening to Sam, enjoying your time, reminiscing, perhaps, uh,
Reminiscing.
reminiscing about the good old days of
Let's like listening UFO 50 and all these kind of like good old days of console platforming and action games.
con.
Yeah.
Did you say console action games? Because you've been playing a console action game from I don't. There's a couple, but I want to get to the one that's a little bit more recent-ish, I guess, and that would be Star Wars
Okay.
Episode One: Jedi Power Battles.
Yeah,
I love this
baby.
trailer, by the way. It's great.
Um, yeah. Well, that's the thing about Jedi Power Battles was that there was a Phantom Menace video game
Mm,
already. And Power Battles decided it was going to be sort of the goofier version of it. Like, we're going
love
to
it.
retell the story of Phantom Menace. And, the Phantom Menace it's a hard to buy story about uh, government trade routes and
Don't bring
tariffs
it
and
up.
taxation
Never believable. Never
being
happened.
conceived by one of the most corrupt and evil human beings in the
Mm,
galaxy.
mhm.
So if you can get past that sort of concept, there's a lot of fun to be
Unbelievable. Yeah.
had with Phantom Menace in general. Listen, I'm a Phantom Menace apologist. I fucking love the movie Star Wars,
Hmm.
the Phantom Menace. I don't know. I'll always defend it, but it's a kids movie. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played this originally when it was on the Dreamcast.
Hmm,
Came out originally on the PlayStation 1. I played the Dreamcast version. It was a really fun
hmm.
game and I have lots of good memories about. And it was also a really good co-op game because it was a co-op game where you really actually had to cooperate. It wasn't so much like a lot of couch co-op where it's just like you're both doing your own thing towards the same goal. It's like, yeah, actually kind of I need your help to take down this droideka, kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on. But yeah, it understands
That
that.
giant head.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. It does these weird things where it's like you could get a power up, and it makes your lightsaber longer. Or it's big
Hey.
head. Yeah,
My
yeah,
only weakness.
Yeah.
yeah. It just does these things that like are kind of reminiscent of like the Super Star Wars games in a sense, where just it's vaguely retelling the story
Hmm.
but having some fun with it and adding and video gaming it up quite a bit. um it's a janky mess. It doesn't even like this is the remaster. This is brand new.
Hmm.
This is remastered version of it. um and they didn't fix anything janky about the game, which I appreciate. It just made it look a little better. um the camera's bad pretty much all the time. The platforming's like extremely difficult to do sometimes. But that doesn't stop me from loving it nonetheless. It's just a fun little action game where you get to
Hmm.
choose. Like you get to choose. Like you can play through the entirety of the Phantom Menace as Mace Windu if you wanted to. Like he plays almost no role in that movie, but here he is. You can play as Darth Maul through the story. They added all the unlockables are unlocked from the
Hmm.
beginning in this version. They even added characters that you can play as, like that weren't in the original game. Like you can play through the game as Jar Jar Binks now, which is silly,
Wow.
and I appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Nice. There's like
yeah.
13. Are there 13 new characters?
13 newly unlocked playable
Wow.
characters. Yeah, they did quite a bit.
Hmm.
They're all kind of characters that sort of appeared in one way or another in the game. So it's just repurposing existing assets, for
Hmm.
for these purposes. But like, um, it's fun, man. It's not.
Huh.
It's my original 7 out of 10 kind of thing. Like it plays goofy, janky, but like there's a
Hmm.
fun game to be had there. So especially since they just don't make games like this anymore at
Hmm.
all. Like if you're getting sort of like, you get two choices when it comes to like your licensed IP games. You're gonna get those. They spent way too much on a Star Wars game that was never gonna, you're gonna spend way too much on Star Wars Squadrons, or they spent very little and let some studio make a little janky game mills game that sort of doesn't barely works, and they put no effort into, like you don't get these sort of double A IP based action games anymore. It's kind of one of the last of its kind for a bit. Like, Marvel was doing that stuff on the 360 a little bit when the MCU first kicked off, because there was like there's a Captain America and a Thor games that were actually like, they're not bad, but they're not good either. And it's just like, that's kind of, we need more of that, especially if you're just going to be pumping out IP stuff. Like Warner Brothers just needed to be pumping out weird, like have Way Forward make you a fucking Tom and Jerry side-scrolling platformer or some nonsense, instead of spending millions and millions of dollars on a platform fighting game that was never going to go anywhere. or Suicide Squad. Like, we need to make a live service multiplayer exclusive online nonsense. But yeah, big fan of this game. Big fan. Star Wars games. Star Wars games have always been sort of important to video gaming for a while, and then they just kind of made them too big. like even you go to Nintendo 64, you had Shadows of the Empire and Star Wars Rogue Squadron and stuff, and now you have Battlefront 2, which is like, why is that game as big as it is when it's just like a team deathmatch game?
Sure.
So yeah,
it's awesome.
Fun. Like, I like that game a lot.